And welcome to Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where you don't need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. Head over to royalretros.com, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, and you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper. You can follow me on X or Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Hello, hooray, let the show begin. I've been ready. Hello, hooray, let the lights grow dim. I've been ready. I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
That comes off like a show tune or a musical, but I don't think I'm right on this one, am I?
Nope.
What is it?
This would be from the 20th century poet and songster, one Vincent Damon Fernier. You may know him better as Alice Cooper.
Ah, okay. Now I get it. I still want you to sing one song. On the 300th, will you sing?
I will take that under advisement.
Your people will talk to my people. Yeah. Okay. Alouettes beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to advance to the East Final. But before we talk about that in their 42-33 win, to preview, I want you guys to stay with us this week. Preview the upcoming East Final. We have a new guest, first-time guest here on the show, and he's very well qualified to talk to us and to preview the upcoming matchup, isn't he?
Absolutely. You talk about Hamilton through and through. This gentleman truly is Hamilton through and through. When it comes to sports in the Hammer, this is your guy. We are so excited. This evening we will be joined by CHCH Sports Line's very own Clint Bubba O'Neil. What this was an absolute blast to talk to him and get his thoughts on the Eastern Final and pretty much everything Hamilton Tiger Cats. So, folks, make sure you stay tuned for this one.
Exactly. So I said the Alouettes beat the Bombers to advance, and this game was a along with the crowd that we had at Percival Molson, it was a roller coaster ride in itself. Didn't start off that way. Looked like it was going to be a blowout by the Alouettes with them going up 17-0.
And at one point, 25-3.
Yeah, and 25, 6. Yep. At halftime.
Yes.
And then it seemed that the Alouettes all of a sudden wanted to go ahead and pull out that card from the East Final last year and started to play like them. But it made a good game, to be honest with you. I may have said this on Flightdeck Live. By the way, go ahead and watch that. We've had great feedback and traction on that show. Please go and watch it if you haven't already. It's on YouTube or it's in an audio form. Of all the games this year where the Owls have gone through adversity, this is one of the few times, Cliff, where I never had a second thought that the Alouettes were not going to win this game. And one of those reasons was Davis Alexander and how well that this team seems to be playing with him behind center. I never had a second. I never thought that they were going to lose this game. Never, despite those those blips and that 21-0 run that the Bombers had within the first 7 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, but my word, I mean, I've got all the faith in the world in Davis Alexander too. Don't get it twisted, but Jesus Christ on a motorbike, that was just not fun for Alouettes Nation to watch. I mean, like after a first half that looked so incredible and one that if you didn't see it, you wouldn't have believed it. Like the Alouettes could do no wrong in that first half of football. Offense, defense, special teams, what have you. I mean, other than Jose Malto's missing a field goal, but still gets a rouge for now. We'll see what happens in 2027, but I digress. This first half of football was an Alouettes fan's wet dream. I mean, this was everything you wanted and then some. But then the third quarter got underway, the second half, and I don't know. It just felt like I think Winnipeg truly felt embarrassed by what the effort they put forth in that first half, and they're like, no, we ain't going down like that. And they decided to make a game of it, and it was kind of interesting because, yeah, the comeback of sorts, if you will, for the Blue Bombers started with a DPI penalty that basically put the Bombers on the doorstep for the Alouettes doorstep, letting them score a touchdown. Which, again, I gotta give Tyrese Beverett all kinds of credit. His attempts at trying to put Terry Wilson in the RKO, I love it.
Again, I noticed that too.
Not once, not twice, but thrice. I mean, he's gonna hit it sooner or later. But yeah, once the Bombers scored that touchdown, I'm like, okay, now all right, they're gonna walk away without feeling too bad about their effort.
Yeah, it was 25-13 at the time. Yeah, and
then Davis throws a pick, which okay, it happens. I mean, he was feeling himself quite a bit throughout the game, but mistakes are going to happen. Okay, it was a pick, and that eventually turned into a touchdown as well by Ontario Wilson. Like, okay, this is not ideal, but okay, they're going to get back on track. And then Davis launches an absolute beauty of a pass to Tyson Philpott. And I'm sorry, he did not complete that catch. That should not have counted as a fumble, but invariably it did. Winnipeg recovers. And what happens? Another goal line touchdown. And all of a sudden, you go from leading 26 or 25-6 to being down 27-25. What an epic collapse. I mean, that was just Mino Lakey. I mean, that was just and you could sense the frustration and the bewilderment of Alouettes Nation in the stands. Everybody's looking at each other going, what the F just happened?
As I said, what the hell? Was it shades of 2024 again?
Yeah, picking a bad day to have a bad day. And yeah, I mean, and it's not like we could blame Cody Fajardo or Walter Fletcher for their coughing up of the ball on this one. Nope, they weren't even in the stadium this past Saturday. So
or MBT. But as I stated on Flightdeck Live, that next drive after Winnipeg had gone up by 2, that was the turning point right there. That drive where they needed to do something in order to get points on the board. Don't go for a freaking field goal to get a touchdown to put them ahead again. They did do it. They went on a long drive too, scored a touchdown, and they were up for the rest of the game.
Yeah, they at that point didn't look back. I mean, all Winnipeg could do, I think they managed, 2 more field goals from Sergio Castillo, and that was about it. I mean, at that point, they woke up. That was the thing. The Alouettes finally woke up, realized what the hell was going on, and they got their act together. And couldn't come at a better time. And once again, Davis Alexander reasserted himself as QB1, as the man here in Montreal, as he should be. And let's just talk about really quick. Not only did Davis Alexander have himself a phenomenal game, all things considered, but Stevie Scott III. Oh my. Talk about a big boy game. Talk about stepping up. Talk about a coming out party for Stevie Scott III. I mean, yes, he was on this team last year, got a couple of opportunities to showcase what he can do, and he did okay. Nothing spectacular, but he showed that he belonged here. Had an outstanding training camp this year. Again, so much so that the Alouettes decided, okay, we don't need Walter Fletcher. We can rely on Stevie Scott III, Sean Thomas Erlington, and this kid out of nowhere, Travis Tice. Yeah, we good. Our running back situation is going to be good. And it was. With all 3 of those guys, all taking turns at one point being RB1, this Alouettes backfield looked tremendous this year, all things considered. Maybe didn't get as many opportunities as they would have liked to run the ball, but when they did, they certainly made the most of it. And right now, the hot hand at the running back position is Stevie Scott III. And oh my, what a... not 1, but 2 incredible touchdown runs for Stevie Scott. Wow. Just the first one was absolutely nice. I mean, he was just, juking and jiving, and, you cannot stop this guy. He was just a force. But that second touchdown.
I was about to say, that second touchdown.
Wow. I mean, with a little help from his friends, Stevie Scott found the end zone 2 times, and that essentially was, the icing on the cake for the Alouettes. I mean, that was just the assertion, the stamp, the final stamp of approval, if you will, saying that, yeah, we got this game. We're going to the Eastern Final. Hamilton, get ready for the Alouettes.
Yep. It was enough so that the Alouettes put out on social media a highlight of that touchdown 4 times, each done from the television broadcast in English and French, and the radio call in English and French. And it was just absolutely amazing. And I have to ask this because I'm a proponent. I swear to you, I hate the tush push. That was not a tush push. We've seen this type of play before in any football, really, as long as the guy keeps moving. I mean, I got this. We can speculate now. Do you think Stevie Scott would have made the touchdown if he hadn't had a little help from his friends?
I do. Actually, it's crazy. It sounds like just he was really on one. That's the thing. He had a lot of really nice runs. It didn't all turn into touchdowns, but I think the way he was running, he had that downhill momentum. He again, he's a big boy too, so I mean, like he's able to lower the shoulder and truck people over, and yet can turn on the jets at a moment's notice as well. I mean, he is very similar. He's the prototype running back that this Alouettes team likes, like that downhill runner, not afraid to get physical, can go from 0 to 100 at a moment's notice. I mean, that's what they like. That's the kind of running backs that they come and look for. And Stevie Scott is the latest of many, many running backs that this Alouettes team has had in that similar vein.
And who Davis Alexander said he's the CFL's version of Derrick Henry.
That's high praise, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And yeah, that second touchdown would be proof positive. Like I've seen Derrick Henry score many a touchdown like that. I mean, if you're putting him in that same category, that if I'm Stevie Scott, I'm like, wow, yeah, okay, all right, let's go. I'll take that all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. If anybody saw the stats that came out real quickly, because we went over them on Flightdeck Live, just real quickly. Davis Alexander had 384 yards. I think it's the second most since AC had just a touch more in the playoffs. He only had a touchdown and an interception. But the thing is, we've talked about in years weeks past, Cliff, is that despite him only having one passing touchdown, and I think that's what it's been for his last 3 starts, it doesn't matter because he's just thrown for so many yards. They've been able to score. That's the thing. So he doesn't necessarily need to throw 2, 3, 4 times. Would be nice, but still to throw for almost 400 yards at 250 at halftime. He had a very good half, good half. Pluses, he was able to run, look very good. I think he's still technically quote unquote on a pitch count because I know he mentioned in the post game press conference the next day he would be going back for his therapy, which we've been told is happening every day, almost every day after every game. Which is normal coming off that major injury. We're hoping to speak with Davis obviously this sometime this offseason to find out a little bit more about the injury and about him being able to come back from it.
Although you wouldn't be able to tell that he had a injured hamstring the way he ran in for a touchdown, and even being flushed out of the pocket a couple times, he still managed to scamper for 10 plus yards almost every time and just be able to move the chains with his feet, which in and of itself is absolutely incredible. When you consider that he lost so many games this year as a result of that hamstring injury, for him to be able to come back. And I think there's a little bit of that, a little psychological edge for him as well to score the touchdown where he did, because that was the same end zone that against Toronto. Yeah, he scored the winning touchdown, but ended up pulling up lame and re-injuring his hamstring. So I think there was a little part of him that said, I got to do this. I got to do this. It's a mental block. A lot of athletes have that sometimes, and almost like, like getting back on the horse, if you will, like that. It's just to prove to themselves that, yeah, I'm good. I can do this. I got this. No problem. And I think that's what that touchdown run was so important for, because he could have easily handed off to Stevie Scott. It looked like he did, but in true zone read fashion, he kept it for himself, went for a little scamper, and next thing you know, a tutty for the Alouettes.
Yeah, exactly. Even Davis himself, I think it was in the first practice scrum this week. he said he wasn't perfect, and that's the thing. And we have a lot to talk about this particular subject after the interview, but he gave himself a B minus. I mean, I would think that if anybody would be so high in or arrogant, I was an A minus. I think Davis is tough on himself. He's tough on himself for a reason. That's what it's shown for the entire year, and because of just that, Cliff. I mean, you look at what he was able to do. We had almost 3 wide receivers who had 100 yards. Tyson Philpott led the team with 135 yards, had the only receiving touchdown.
And
so
what a receiving touchdown! Holy cow!
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
the way he was able to high point the ball.
You're right.
Just amazing. And again, all we talk about when it comes to Davis Alexander, he's got that gunslinger mentality and just grip it and rip it. And that's exactly what he did with that touchdown pass. And he just hucked it in the air, but it's so smooth, so crisp the way he throws the ball. And Tyson Philpott, he had the wherewithal. He was just able to high point it just at the right time, come down with it in the end zone. Touchdown. Exactly. That was the second one too.
Yeah, and by the way, Cliff said hucked it. I'm leaving it at that because for those of you who are not watching the video, it may have sounded like something else, but I can guarantee you Cliff said huck. He hucked the ball.
Yes, Huck. No F's. No F's given.
No. Yeah, there you go. Charles Rambo had 95 yards. Mac had 98. We had learned, by the way, that Mac last week in Winnipeg actually dislocated a finger. So I can only imagine if there was any little bit issues when it came to that. But it's still one of his main catches this week. Again, contorts his body and came down with the ball. I mean, Mac seems to becoming one of these guys. It doesn't matter where you throw the ball. He's going to go up and get it. And he'll have to, if he has to change the trajectory of his body, if he has to defy gravity, he's going to do just that. And he's going to come down with the ball.
There's a reason why we made a t-shirt of that iconic Grey Cup catch, which that in and itself was absolutely tremendous. I mean, you talk about a human highlight reel. That is Austin Mack for you, ladies and gentlemen. Le Big Mac. He just, all he does is make outstanding play after outstanding play. And just one of the several weapons that Davis Alexander has as his arsenal. Just tremendous. I mean, and again, playing with a dislocated finger as well. Yeah. And still making ridiculous catches. I mean, let me tell you, Austin Mack truly is one of one, folks. I mean, he really is something special. And again, it's all coming together at the best possible time.
Yep. Stevie Scott had 29 yards receiving. Tyler Snead had 15. Very quiet. Tyler was very quiet on the day, by the way. And
although he did draw one hell of a penalty, though, that basically set up the Alouettes for their first touchdown.
That's fair. I'll agree with you on that one. Cole Speaker had 12. Also, everything else too. The defense stood out. Isaac Ademi Berglund had his first sack in 4 weeks. Oof. He had gone very quiet when it came to the, him against him and Matthew Betts in the sack race and stuff like that. He had gone quiet. Got a sack this week. Same thing. I know you were hoping that there was going to be another sack, but again, the league has finally given their say. Unfortunately, Cliff, it was only IAB, and it was Ty Beverett who got the 2 sacks this week. So,
well, listen, I mean, he didn't get sacks, but he forced a fumble off of Zach Caleros, recovered a fumble from Brady Oliveira. I mean, Isaac had to get
IAB had 2, right? IAB also had 2 forced fumbles also.
That's right. I mean, what else can you say about this guy? No wonder he is the Eastern nominee for most outstanding Canadian again. Will he win the award? Probably not, because he's going up against Kid Canada himself, Nathan Rourke. So I'm pretty sure you're going to see a clean sweep there. So it is what it is. But I mean, you cannot deny just how amazing Isaac Adeyemi Berglund has been this year. And he has proved himself over and over and over. And quite frankly, I think it's a disgrace that he's not most outstanding defensive player as well. Nothing against Julian Hauser of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who he himself had a pretty outstanding year as well. But Isaac really truly has been on one. He's been on one all year. He's done nothing but make magic. He's done nothing but been an absolute terror to opposing offenses.
Right.
I mean, this guy just really is. He's truly something special. And my hope is that when the CFL awards come around, he gets more than one vote. And we know who the voting committee is. We know who has the final say in it. And I get the whole Nathan Rourke thing. I get the fact that he stood up for Canada and CFL fans with his comments about the rule changes and yada yada yada. But folks, you cannot sleep on Isaac Adiemi-Berglund. I mean, this guy really is an absolute force and definitely deserves his flowers.
Yep. And again, we went over this quite a bit on the detail on Flightdeck Live, so check it out. Last thing I want to talk about the game before there is something that we hinted at on Flightdeck Live that we do at least want to comment on. But let's talk about the crowd. Despite the full transit strike in Montreal last Saturday, a very, very loud and boisterous crowd of just less than 20,000 people, 19,785 showed up. And you said pre-show to me that you're watching the replay again, and you yourself could not believe how loud that crowd actually was at Personal Bowls. I'm not surprised. Some would say, "Oh well, it's the sound bouncing off the neurological center." No, not necessarily. I'm sure it helps because it's concrete, but it's that crowd. I will admit was loud. I wish they had a meter. Like you said on Flightdeck Live, I wish they had a meter to get what the decibels were.
Oh my God. Yeah. You'd be looking at triple digits easily. I mean, it was effing loud, folks. I mean, again, I had people in DMs telling me like, holy cow, that it has got to be crazy in there. And it truly was crazy. I mean, especially like the crescendo of that was Winnipeg's last drive. Like I think with less than 30 seconds left to try and salvage something out of this game. I mean, I always joke about like, those drives, like the ones that the Alouettes need to, slam the door on the opposing team. I always talk about welcome to the Thunderdome because everybody gets up, everybody gets loud, and it becomes absolute bedlam in the stands. And it is amazing. It is something you have to see. And even though I keep saying this is the smallest stadium in the Canadian Football League, but you give these people something to cheer about and they can get loud AF. And that's exactly what they did. And look what happened. The final result. Darnell Sankey with the game-sealing interception as a result of, I'm sure, of the noise, of the absolute insanity in the crowd. And just watching the replay on TV, like it was phenomenal. Just the noise. Like you heard no air horns. That's the other thing, too. I don't want people saying, oh, well, you got the air horns. No, they're banned. Don't forget. Y'all wanted them banned, and Montreal banned the air horns, like the mechanical air horns. But you still had vuvuzelas, you still had cowbells, you still had all sorts of other noisemakers. And you know what also makes a lot of noise? Screaming at the top of your lungs, clapping your hands. That can make a lot of noise too. And that's exactly what the 19,000 plus fans at Percival Molson Stadium did. They brought the noise, they brought the energy, they brought the excitement, they brought everything. Like they truly emptied the clip because this was the last home game that's going to be played in Montreal this year.
Yeah.
I mean, so go big or go home, right? That's exactly what
I know.
Alouettes Nation did.
Think of how loud it would have been if there had been 3,000 more people.
Would have been awesome. And it's a shame that I know a lot of people couldn't get to the game because, again, if you're relying on public transport to get you to the game, you are out of luck because there's a strike going on. And, of course, they're going to put the strike on November 1st. Knowing full well that there was a lot of stuff going on in Montreal sports-wise. There was women's soccer, the Alouettes, the Canadians. I'm sure people wanted to go to the bars and restaurants for watching Game 7 of the World Series. I mean, there's a lot of places where people had to go and they couldn't get there if they're relying solely on public transportation. And it's disappointing, to say the least, that's, in all reality, this should have been a sellout. This should have been a true sellout in every sense of the word. Like even with the last minute crowd, and the weather held up. So I mean, anybody that was staying away because of the rain, I mean that wasn't even an issue. I mean, it was overcast, it was a little gray, but still, I mean, you definitely could have attended this game. Like a last minute decision. I mean, but at this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, just under 20,000 people showed up for the last game being played in Montreal in 2025. They brought everything, and as a result, the Alouettes gave them something to cheer for. They gave them something to be excited about, and now we're on to Hamilton.
Exactly. Now, it wasn't all sunshine and roses at the beginning, leading up to the game itself. We had there was a little bit of a blip when it came to the defense, and we don't have much to say about this because there really isn't much to say, but it needs to be said either way. About 8 p.m. on Thursday.
Friday.
Came
this
out
literally hours before kickoff,
and after the depth charts have been released.
Mm-hmm.
It was announced by the CFL that Sean Oakman had been suspended by the league for something that should not happen. So I don't want to say the word.
Here's what it is. I'll say it for you.
I'm trying to I don't, because I know we're the show is on YouTube too, and I want to be careful of a certain word. Is it revenge? PORN. And people are like, Tim, say it. No, I don't want to get dinged by YouTube if that's the case.
Well, no,
that's what it sounded like.
What essentially was Sean. Yeah, you're kind of burying the lead a little bit here, but essentially what had happened was Sean Oakman had violated the CFL's gender-based violence policy, whereas he was essentially threatening an intimate partner of his by threatening to send illicit material to her child, a minor.
Just nuts. What?
Here's the thing, because again, as soon as you mentioned this gender-based violence policy that the CFL has, your first instinct is to go to the whole Chad Kelly affair. Not the same thing at all, but still not something you need to be or should want to be doing. And yet this came out, and this had this could have very well derailed everything for Montreal. Yeah. Sean Oakman was a very big part of this defensive line. He was nominated as an all-star or all CFLer this year.
Yeah.
I mean, what he did on the field this year, it was absolutely tremendous. But the fact that he was getting involved in nonsense like this, and it comes out just before you're about to take the field to play a bloody playoff game, like, first of all, this tells me your head is not in the game at all. If you're dealing with BS like this, I'm sorry, you're not a part of it. Like this, you clearly do not care. You do not care about your teammates. You do not care about your organization. You do not care about anything but yourself. And I have a very big problem with that. Like this, if the Alouettes had lost because they didn't have enough people on the offensive or defensive line to stop Brady Oliveira or the Blue Bombers attack at all, and they could have used the Sean Oakman, could you imagine the absolute crap storm that would have come down?
Right.
It's incredible to think, and I'm disappointed in a lot of ways, and I hate the fact that this had the potential to do that. Thank goodness this Alouettes team, I think I said this is going to do one of two things. This will either derail them or it'll galvanize them. And that's exactly what happened. They got galvanized. This defensive line stood up in a massive way. You saw how they played this past Saturday. I don't think they missed Sean Oakman at all. In fact, everybody stood up. Everybody brought their A game and played absolutely outstanding. You saw how this defensive line played against a very formidable opponent in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like, Sean who? Don't know him. Who's that? And I will give the Alouettes a lot of credit. This didn't turn into a Chad Kelly thing simply because Danny Machocha wasn't having any of it. The minute, the second even, that presser had come out from the CFL talking about how Sean Oakman was suspended indefinitely, gone, released. They released him. No, nothing. No, it was just okay. Based on this, Sean Oakman is no longer a member of the Montreal Alouettes, and just short, sweet, to the point. They were not going to discuss it. It was just, he's gone. That's it. Bye-bye. And that's how it's got to be. There's no tiptoeing around or trying to justify or any of this stuff. I mean, like, I'm sorry. How could one justify this stuff? I mean,
yeah,
whether it was a revenge thing or maybe, like I said, his intimate partner was trying to pull a fast one or something like that. I don't think it was anything like that. I really think he effed up in a big way. It got public. It got found out. And, well, you get what you get, folks. I mean,
and supposedly, according to the press release, this is something that had been reported earlier this week, at least as from what it read. So this has been going on for the entire week. And, you know, Owls Nation could have said, well, wait a minute. You dropped us now, right before the playoffs? I'm glad they did. You know what? Get rid of bad rubbish right there. We got it. They have to move on. And as you said, I will second it. The immediate release of him, well done by the Alouettes organization. Well done.
They are not screwing around. This is, and again, I'm sure in the past, you know, you say what you will about Danny Machocha. You know, you want to goof on him for this, that, and the other. You know, whatever. You know, you want to talk about how, you know, he only takes draft Quebecers in the draft. Okay, fine, you got that. You know, you want to talk about Sean Lemon making bets and you know, getting suspended for that and, you know, having a laugh about that. All right, fine, okay, but wasn't hurting anybody. The only person Sean Lemon was hurting with that was Sean Lemon, and he took his medicine. He did his time. He's back now, and you know, it was made very clear to him. This is your final warning about that. This, though, you can't even compare. The situations to here. We're talking apples and fire trucks here, folks. I mean, it's not even close to being comparable. And a lot of people will say, "Well, hey, don't you remember Sean Oakman way back in the day when he was in college, used to do stuff like this?" Okay, yeah. And you know what? People talk about all the time how the CFL is a second chance league. You know, like if you screw up, you know, in college, or if you were in the NFL and you screwed up, you come to the CFL and redeem yourself. And for the most part, Sean Oakman had done that. You know, like you would hope that those days were behind him, but I guess it's true what they say that, you know, a snake can shed his skin, but at the end of the day, it's still a snake.
Mm-hmm.
So as you said, good riddance to bad rubbish. And listen, I think this team, win or lose, you know, whatever happens going forward in the playoffs, they did the right thing. They should be commended for it. Danny Machocha should be commended for his swift action. And I think this team knows, you know, as important as Sean Oakman was on the field this year for the Alouettes, you did need that in your locker room. You don't need that in your organization. And they did the right thing. And now look, they're going to go ahead. However the season finishes, well, only time's going to tell. But I am very proud of the Alouettes for doing the right thing and not turning it into a whole circus like what happened in Toronto.
I agree. And speaking of moving along, we got the Hamilton Tiger Cats coming up in the East Final this Saturday. And what better way to start looking at the game is to talk with somebody who knows the Tiger Cats very well. As Cliff said at the beginning, he's Hamilton through and through. So what better way to have an absolutely amazing interview and chat with CHCH's own Bubba O'Neil.
The Grey Cup is next week, but this week is the Eastern Final. And the Montreal Alouettes go all the way to Hamilton Stadium, a place they know extremely well. Just go back to 2 years ago even to know how well this Alouettes team knows Hamilton Stadium, formerly known as Tim Hortons Field. So we wanted to get a perspective on this Eastern Final from someone who is Hamilton through and through. We are so excited this evening to be joined to preview this Eastern Final by none other than CHCH's own Clint Bubba O'Neil. Clint, or should I say Bubba, welcome to the Alouettes Flight Deck.
I was going to say, Clint, who's that?
That's your government name. I get it.
That is. My mom and dad had to give me a name, which nobody seems to know. That's been going on for decades upon decades, but so be it. I'm okay with it. There's a lot of worse things and a lot of worse names. I think I could have had nicknames at least.
Glad to be here, boys. As I like to say, I've been called worse things by better people. So,
but glad to be here, boys. We got a doozy of a game coming up on Saturday.
woo, boy, howdy! I mean, like Hamilton and Montreal this year, it's been neck and neck. Like these guys have really been kind of going at it. And the first two games, or the two games that they played against each other this year, clearly don't tell the entire story about this 2025 Alouettes and Hamilton Tiger Cats team. In your opinion, like when these two teams take the field this Saturday, what are you looking for right off the bat compared to what you've seen earlier this year?
War. I really do believe that, and I think because Montreal is going to come in with an edge. They always do, in my opinion. And I think the Hamilton Tiger Cats, there's an edge of, they're not going to say it, but I think they feel a little disrespected that the Montreal Alouettes are getting so much talk. Now, you have to back that up on the field, and that's going to be for both teams. But I think you're going to see a really hostile, edgy game. I think because of the crowd that's going to be there, I think we're getting real close to a sellout, a capacity crowd. They've got the blackout element going. And the last time they did that was 2019, the East Final, when the crossover, then Edmonton Eskimos came to Hamilton. And everybody wore black on a Sunday afternoon. And it just looked spectacular. And the crowd were amped. And of course that was the 2019 season when they were 15-3, and there was a real belief of a Grey Cup going to be coming to Hamilton before they got, destroyed by Winnipeg and Calgary. But at that moment, that crowd was feeling it, and I do believe that crowd is feeling it right now. They're looking forward to this game Saturday afternoon, midday, and I think it's just going to raise the temperature for both teams, no doubt.
Well, especially with the winds that are swirling at Hamilton Stadium at the best of times, I think you want as warm a temperature as one can get, I would imagine.
It sounds like the temperature is going to be pretty good. I mean, your typical fall afternoon, November, early November, you're going to get that. It doesn't sound like any rain's going to be in the forecast. So, yeah, and you're right. There's always going to be a breeze going through that stadium, which will always be sort of tricky for the kickers. But I think both kickers, obviously, have done this before. They understand the pressure of the situation. They'll be prepared on both sides. Of course, Mark Leggio, he works there. So be it.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about this Hamilton team, they ended up in first place as a result, mostly because they did beat the Montreal Alouettes twice this year. Now, they didn't face Davis Alexander in either of those games, so you're obviously going to get a different team. What do you think Hamilton's doing to prepare, as in addition to just watching the film of Davis Alexander, what do you think Hamilton's doing to prepare themselves for this particular version of the Montreal Alouettes?
Well, I think, if you're going to start at the quarterback position, there's no arguing that Davis Alexander is a much more, and I'm not going to say accomplished because McLeod Bethel Thompson is more accomplished. He's won Grey Cups. And been part of Grey Cup winning teams. But he's a different style of guy, as you guys both know. He's a guy that wants to plays to develop downfield. He's going to sit in the pocket. He will absorb a hit if it means completing a pass, where I think Davis is going to bail because he has maybe a little bit more athleticism. So I think that's going to be, the responsibilities of obviously a defense for the Tiger Cats that has definitely improved. And I like that you brought up the fact that these two teams, I think they're tremendously different from when they both faced each other in the last time, which I believe was dating back to September in Montreal, which was a kind of a different game. It was a lot of very defensive slugfest in Montreal compared to what I thought was more of an offensive show in Hamilton much earlier in the season. But Hamilton's defense has improved remarkably. And the fact that they're getting pressure on the quarterback, they have much more responsible guy. Philip Osai is a guy that I think everyone needs to know more about. And he's really added to that defensive line that is, leads it, that's helped a secondary lead the league in interceptions and takeaways as well, too. So I think it all starts there. I know that's the sort of the headliner is Davis Alexander and what will he do, undefeated quarterback in that situation. Can I be fair, though? When I look at the teams that Davis Alexander, I believe he played 7 or 8 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
3 wins over Ottawa? And I know there's people picking apart the Tiger Cats win-loss record, too. And a win is a win, right? Let's start with that. but I also see a couple of wins against Toronto. I see no games against BC. I see no games against Saskatchewan. One game against Winnipeg, which I thought was kind of up and down for the Montreal offense, showed some early, then got pushed, then responded nicely at home to close out the game. So, I got to see Davis Alexander against this Hamilton defense, which I think nobody's talking about.
No, that's true.
Very-
And we're just looking back at the two games themselves. One was Macbeth. He started the first one. The game you were mentioning was James Morgan. And it was a very different game because the score really wasn't indicative. I think it was 26-9 that the Tiger Cats ended up winning, but it wasn't indicative because at halftime it was still actually going into the fourth, it was still a 7-point game.
Yeah, it was not raining, it was an ugly day too.
Yeah.
It was just ugly Alouettes football.
It was an ugly game, right? That's one of those games where it's like, if you're Ticats, you know what? Just get the win and get out of town. But sorry to cut you off.
No, and I'm it's true. I was just saying, talking about the matchup itself, it really is just more than the quarterbacks. It's more than him versus Bo Levi. If you think about it, you got the up and comer versus the vet, and most likely a Hall of Famer. But again, it's just more than that. As you're saying, defense versus offensive line. There's a whole slew of things here, Bubba, that I think fans really need to look at. Sure, you can look at the history. Yeah, okay. So the Alouettes haven't beaten Hamilton in the East Final since 1970. That's at that point it was a two game series, total point series at that time in 1970, where the Alouettes swept that. You can't look at that. I mean, you ask Coach Moss, he'll say, "Don't look at history. Just look what's happening now." But if you look at these two teams, I mean, by the way. But in your opinion, because I've already seen them, I've seen them on CFL.ca, I've seen them on 3 Down, stuff like that. You're looking at the defense versus offensive line and vice versa. For you, which do you think that the Tiger Cats really have a very good edge over the Alouettes with?
Well, and it's funny because I think this is so even. I'm not quite sure who really has an edge over, in terms of any parts of their games. I just think that there needs to be respect for each side in terms of what they can do. And obviously, as I hate to be all coach speak here, it's going to come down to execution. I think both teams, including the Tiger Cats, who have really improved their running game, Greg Bell going over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. Montreal's running game, I thought, really looked good against Winnipeg. But you got a real tough front 3 that they run there. There's going to be a front 4 that they're going to be facing, much different than that Jordan Younger defense that the Bombers were throwing at them, which I thought got sliced up pretty good at certain times of the game. And I think as I talk about the defensive line, I think that, we got a Casey Sales in there that's really good at stuffing up the middle as well, too. Julian Hauser responding from coming back from Calgary and having an outstanding season to the point where, he's battling for most outstanding defensive player along with Betts from BC. So I think both teams do some things. Obviously, the passing attack, even though Bo Levi Mitchell has thrown for more yardage, obviously Davis hasn't, played as much, but Bo's had another back-to-back 5,000-yard seasons. And this is something he's never done. Like, he never happened in Calgary. So it's going to be about who can put together, I think, consistent first downs. And this is old school stuff, guys, for teams that are as diverse as they're offensively. It's about picking up first downs, time of possession, keeping each other off the field. That's old school stuff, as I said, for teams that are as dynamic and can do as many things as they can. With both teams have great receiving cores. And the Cats had 3 guys go over 1,000 yards for the first time. First time they've had 3 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rushing back in a long, long time. And we all know about what Montreal can do when their talent max unbelievable. Philpott is just going to get better and better in his career. I just don't know if there's an edge anywhere. It's going to be about execution on this day. That's the way I kind of see it. Mm-hmm. And with that, with execution, who's going to turn the football over?
Mm.
Huge.
That's very true.
Huge. I mean, it's a playoff game, and it's. I mean, as we all know, you win the turnover battle, and you win what 75-80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know in the Canadian Football League, what 65% of all games come down to the final 3 minutes. I think this is all happening in this game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are maybe hoping or thinking this could be a shootout, but I mean, this truly could come down to that same sort of tight defensive battle that, could really come down to either Mark Leggio or Jose Matos Diaz kicking a game-winning field goal to go to Winnipeg.
Yeah, I well think it could be that, or who's going to break a big one. Which returner is going to break a big one to set up great field position to have much shorter drive starts. Right. And again, I talked about patience in terms of the offensive game plan, but it's not real good when anyone's got to execute. I don't see too many 12 and 13-yard drives, 13 play drives that all started at your own 5-yard line. Right. So return games to me are going to be massive for both teams to set up their offenses to have much more flexibility in terms of what they do offensively. And like I said, Bo, from a Hamilton standpoint, Bo's got several options. And of course, the deep threat going to Kenny Lawler has been alive and well all season long. But then there's also the short stuff too, to Smith and throwing the ball out of the backfield. It's complicated to me. And like I said, I really do believe this is going to come down to a turnover or two. And who knows, it may come late in the game.
I think one of the most interesting things too is if you the Owls have gone up against Lawler twice this year. In that game where they did lose, in September in Montreal, Lawler, I think, was held in check. So it's just a matter of which film they're going to look since then, what they're going to do when it comes to the defense. The defense, I think, has been pretty consistent for most of the year. We got most of our guys back. We don't know about Mustafa Johnson yet, but a lot of our guys are basically, our defense is healthy. And I think it just come down to, again, as you said, who can make the plays, who will control the line of scrimmage. I mean, for you look at the defense versus Hamilton's O-line. You got to admit, even on the other side of the ball, when you back it up, both these O-lines will have a lot of work to do for this game.
No doubt. And as you both know, I mean, controlling the line of scrimmage from an offensive standpoint does start with the horses up front. Now, what I think I see when I look at Hamilton, what they do compared to Montreal a little bit more, I think you see a little bit more 6-man line stuff from Hamilton than what I see more traditionally in Montreal's offensive attack. They make use of the quote tight end, H-back, and there's a lot of responsibility for the back to be blocking, and really not so much. Like I said, there are screens and Greg Bell coming out of the backfield, Augustine as well too can contribute, but they do tend to keep a lot of backs in to protect Bo. Let's be honest here. The difference, we talked about old versus young at the quarterback position. Bo had one rushing touchdown this year, and the world blew up, right? So it was in shocker.
Versus Montreal.
Versus Montreal, right?
Montreal. What was this, first in 10 years?
It may be even longer, right? It was such a shocker on the broadcast. We were like, you're paging through the game logs to see when did this happen. But it's never happened as a Ticat, right? So it was unbelievable to see. But Davis can extend the play. Now Bo can extend the play, but from different ways, shuffling in the pockets, sidestepping, moving around. A little back turn every once in a while we're seeing from him, whereas Davis is going to run for first downs. Now that also opens up for him to be hit as well too. We all remember when he played, I believe it was his first professional start in the Canadian Football League was in Hamilton, was it not?
That's right.
Right, and he got his block knocked off by Casey Sales, who felt okay about taking a 15-yarder, and he absorbed a huge hit. So, if that's the case, he's going to be willing to run. I'll tell you this. I think this Ticats team, which are very, very physical, they will not fear because they know he's going to run at some point, and he's going to be able to escape that defensive line pressure and get out of the lanes. At some point, he's going to run, and that's going to be maybe that's an advantage for Montreal because you do that in terms of watching their running game. That's going to be an aspect that I think that certainly the Tiger Cats are going to have to respect, and that's the legs of Davis Alexander.
Let's talk about Bo Levi Mitchell. I mean, we know what he's capable of doing. As you said, first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no question about that. But I believe it was that game that you were just referencing, Davis's debut, where one Bo Levi was benched as a result of his not so stellar quarterback play. He's come a long way since that day, and I think a lot of it has to do with finally understanding the system that Scott Milanovich has in place. Do you think it was something like that, or it was just simply a matter of Bo just had to find himself a little bit and just remember who the hell he was?
I think Bo's always known who he is, who he can be, what his physical abilities are, and what he can do. And I think Coach Milanovich knows the same thing. At that time, the difference was Bo was turning over the football. That is a non-factor. Like that is a complete no-no to this head coach. Some coaches absorb it and say, "Hey, this is a Canadian Football League. You're going to throw some picks." Not happening with Scott Milanovich. And that's not going to happen because of the way he designs his offense, where he believes that at every single drop back or passing play, somebody is open. And it's up to the quarterback, who's supposed to be a veteran, to find that guy and not throw interceptions. That has completely changed. His interception his interception percentage is the lowest in the Canadian Football League, and he also leads the league in attempts. This is a completely different Bo Levi Mitchell, much more responsible with the football, in my opinion, and the way he's worked at. And the statistics actually back it up. For a guy that throws the ball as much as he has, I mean, his interception percentage is unbelievable, and it's resulted in more touchdown passes and an offensive line which I think was much improved and kind of redone this season with the addition of a couple of guys and a new center as well too. Only sacked, I believe, 26 times this year, which may sound high to some, but based on the amount of pass plays that Bo is standing there in the pocket, to get to your original question about the fact that Bo has improved his decision making, and then you add a Kenny Lawler, which, if Kenny's getting, scoped, if he's getting shadowed, if he's just not feeling it that day, well, you got Tim White, right, who's a 4-5 runner, right? He can catch. He's been over 1,000 yards every year of his career, right? Keandre Smith, every single year I've seen improvement from this kid in terms of his ability to be reliable on first downs, have reliable hands, and occasionally stretch the field. Right, and Shamar Bridges, who only before he got hurt in Game 14 of the season last year, was leading the league in receptions. Right, and he's playing that. Unfortunately, he came back from that long leg injury, and he's playing that X position where the ball comes to you maybe twice a game. But yes, you got to respect him, right? Because he can break. He can break down defenses. So pick your poison. To your original question here, that was the difference in Bo from then to what we're seeing right now. And it's refreshing to see, because you also wonder about a guy like him. Can a guy that's done and accomplished all he's accomplished, will he listen to his head coach? Can he really reteach himself in terms of what his coach wants from him? And he did the job, and he's done it real well. Heck, once again, an MOP candidate for the second year in a row.
He's come a long way too. I mean, considering that last year in the playoffs, it was Matthew Schultz.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
So I mean,
that was 2 seasons ago. That was 2 seasons ago, because Ticats didn't make the playoffs last year. But yeah, to your point, that Matthew Schultz led the Hamilton Tiger Cats into Montreal. And heck, if you remember what happened, what Bo said at the end of the game too, it almost forced him to say either I'm going to retire or I'm going to try and go elsewhere, because I still think I can play the game. Because if they don't want me to play, I don't want to be here. Right now, I'll never know. I mean, let's be honest, that was one of the last decisions that Coach Orlando Steinauer made. And of course, there was a lot going on at that point right there too. Because Bo came in their first year, high-priced guy, veteran guy, winner, a lot of high expectations. And yeah, he sat there until about I think he played the final 4 or 5 minutes of that East Semi-Final. And by then the game was over. The game was over. Yeah. Shocking when I think about it.
I know.
And based on the way I saw Matthew Schultz play in his season finale with Ottawa against the Ticats. Yeah, that's a bad memory. It's a bad
By the
memory.
way, we're talking about other stuff too, which can be, part of the entire story for this game itself. A guy who cut his teeth in Montreal, got hurt, rejuvenated with the Tiger Cats this year on defense. Reggie Stubblefield.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can only imagine what he is feeling, considering that he would possibly has the chance of knocking out his former team, and him going to the Grey Cup.
Not to mention the team that he won the Grey Cup with.
Yes. He had his media availability today, and I think Montreal fans will fall in love with him again. He was completely respectful of his time in Montreal. How could he not be? A team that gave him an opportunity. He was not defensive. Was he not rookie of the year for the team in that first year for Montreal?
He was.
Won a Grey Cup. Talked a lot about Cody Fajardo. Talked about Davis Alexander and how much respect that he deserves from a guy that was, came in there as a third and fourth stringer, or and worked his way up into a point where you had to make him the starter because of his ability, his work ethic. But he had such marvelous things to say about Montreal and the organization. That goes right down to the GM president. He fully understands what the Montreal Alouettes are about and how they have really resculptured that franchise in terms of and as I said, I think Montreal always seems to have this little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I think that's because of the head coach. I remember I've got a long history with Jason Moss, even back to his days as a Tiger Cat as a quarterback. I understand the way he sort of thinks. And he's an offensive genius. So let's be honest. The guy's a really smart man. I keep hearing that his playbook offensively has got like 500 plays in it, which I certainly don't doubt. And I'm sure he wants his quarterback to know all 500 plays. But yes, Stubblefield has been great. Coming off the knee surgery, the Tiger Cats kind of worked him in slowly. I think by about the fourth week or so, he became the guy. And what a talent. What a guy. I mean, so versatile too, the fact that he can play that linebacker position, but also can be part of the secondary. And then some injuries throughout the year have sent him right back to the secondary where he's played corner or halfback. Marvelous add to the Hamilton defense, and they've got him here on a 3-year contract. And the fact that this is a CFL, the fact that they brought him in on a 3-year contract, it shows you something that they believe that this guy will be a cornerstone of the Tiger Cats defense for those 3 years and probably years to come.
And 3 years off of a major injury too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's rehabbing
it. Cover, especially for his size. He's not a real huge guy, but like covering guys out of the backfield, making impact sticks, going back into coverage, but then coming up and stopping the run. He and his speed is better than sometimes you think as well too. So, real good grab. Great. I mean, I said, I don't know how Montreal are feeling about him when he actually skipped town and came to Hamilton through free agency, but we're happy to have him here.
I can tell you a lot of Alouettes fans were very, very disappointed. And I think knowing full well that Reggie really wanted to stay in Montreal, and we're practically begging them to sign him. And I guess they just didn't want to take the chance with his injury. And in a sense, I can't blame him. And I even said, like, you got to secure the bag, my man. Like, you got to, if someone's offering you this kind of money, you got to take it. Like, and I get it. I mean, it is a business at the end of the day, but yeah, I think Alouettes fans still have a lot of love for Reggie, and it's going to be a little bittersweet, I guess, on Saturday when they see number 1 in black and gold lining up against this Montreal offense.
And it's different too, by the way, because you're talking about them not, it seemed to go against the Alouettes' norm not signing Stubbs, because they did the same thing with another Reggie. Reggie White Jr. He was on the shelf for basically for 3 seasons, and they kept him on the main roster. So I'm with Cliff. I'm on that boat where I was disappointed that the Alouettes didn't re-sign him. We did see Stubbs after the last game, the whooping that the Tiger Cats did give us in September, and it's just, what, I agree with you, Bubba. He is so respectful to the city. He was so respectful to the fans. He knows where he came, where he started, and he really is proud of that. But again, he's now a Tiger Cat. He wears black and gold.
I really appreciate the fact that he has come in there, and this is, he talked about this too, in the fact that in the past months he's talked about this too, that he didn't want to rub people the wrong way because I mean, you know what a kind of a personality he is, and it's big, right, for a guy his size, but he's demanding, or has demanded in his own way, that he become a leader on the team. And sometimes, guys force themselves to be leaders on teams, and it just doesn't work, right? Some people don't like that because this guy talks too much, or exactly, right? It's like, I don't want to listen to this guy, but he really has, right? He's become a leader on this team, and he's become very well respected by his teammates. And sometimes getting the respect of your teammates is more difficult than some people would think, especially a guy that just showed up for his first year on the scene. So credit to the Ticats for going out and getting their guy. They certainly did their homework.
They sure did. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the late, great Ted Gavea cultivated him in a sense. Reggie came this close to signing with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 23 after the Alouettes cut him in training camp, but then basically forced Montreal's hand to, like, hey, if you don't sign me, I'm going over here, and the rest is history. And I think Ted may have been a big part of that. And I guess now when Gavea got the opportunity when he became the general manager of the Tiger Cats, like, I'm not letting this guy go again, and basically backed up the Brinks truck for him.
He talked about that today. He talked about Ted and the influence that he had on him, and the pursuit, through free agency of coming here. And don't be fooled, or at least not yourselves, but like anyone that's listening to this, that's a motivating factor for the Tiger Cats, right? The reshaping of this team, the retooling of this team that didn't make the playoffs last year, had a lot to do with Ted. Like, he didn't make a wholesale changes, but he made the changes that needed to be made. And this is from someone that's watched his team play at a real close level for some time now. And the holes in the team, and of course he brought in, and we hear this all the time, he brought in not only guys with talent, but the character guys as well too. The guys that we're going to mix in as I talk about a guy like Stubblefield that's demanding and taking on leadership roles on this team. He found the right guys to have a really harmonious, and this is an 11-7 teams. There were some real ugly moments, plus the passing of Ted, that this team have had to fight through. Right, there was a time there during the middle of the season where they played, and I know this happens to every team in the league because of the unbalanced schedule, where they played 4 games in 20 days, which included trips to BC. Then they came home. Then they went to Edmonton. Then they had a home game, and then they played that first place battle in Saskatchewan, where it was first versus first. And God bless their souls, TSN, they hyped it up as first versus first. But the Tiger Cats were done. Like, I'm just saying, that's no excuse. And I think you'll never get the coaches or the players saying that, but I will. That team didn't have anything left. And that's why they went on to lose 29-9, if I remember was the score, in Regina. So, yeah, this team's been through a lot. And they have stuck together through it, because we've all covered teams where the team doesn't stick together, and it can get ugly. It can get ugly. And this team, I want to compare them to the Blue Jays, because that's an interesting story in itself. But they do. Anytime there is harmony in the locker room, and a leader in terms of the head coach that gives the players the rights to, the locker room and letting them do their thing, there's some good things that generally happen out of that.
There is definitely something to say about chemistry and getting everybody on the same page. And that's something that Coach Moss has done, something Coach Milanovic has done very well, obviously. I mean, that's the other thing, too. This game is going to be very well coached. Like, the coordinators on both sides are on point as far as I'm concerned. Head coaches, they know what they're doing. I mean, they know how to get the most out of their players as well. Yeah, this game, I think, really has a potential to be like an all-time classic when you think about it.
If it is a lopsided score, I'll be shocked. I really, really, really will be. And that goes for even if the Tiger Cats blowing out Montreal, which I just don't see happening. But I don't see Montreal blowing out Hamilton. I just don't see it. And I really do believe this is one of those contests, not to be repetitive. I think it's going to come down to who makes that first or second turnover. Penalties could be huge. Maintaining focus in terms of not taking those penalties will be huge as well. And you know what happens on those kind of games where everything evens up? That means the kickers sometimes have a lot to do with who wins and who loses.
Now history has a bit of a unfavorable side for the first place team in the East over the past couple of years. Toronto had the best record, lost in the Eastern Final to the Alouettes. Last year, the Alouettes had the best record, lost in the Eastern Final to the Argonauts. This year, Hamilton doesn't have the best record, but they are in first place, and they got the bye to the Eastern Final. What do you think is going to be the one thing that's going to prevent them from having the same curse befall them that Toronto and Montreal had before them?
Well, they got to start quick, right? I mean, I think in every one of those games that were the East Division from the regular season, end up losing in the games that they're hosting, I think those teams didn't start very well. And, which almost brings up this whole rest versus rust sort of thing. A certain amount of ring savvy has been earned by the Alouettes after what was an emotional grind a little bit there for the Alouettes, because I don't know what you guys thought, but from sitting in my home when Winnipeg went ahead, I couldn't believe it. They were down 25-6 at halftime and led 27-25. And I'm screaming, Zach's back, right? like what? Right? But Montreal found their composure and started to do what they do better. And they attacked quickly and regained focus in the game. So they are battle tested. They had that extra week. Ticats were at home, resting their minds and their bodies, probably watching that game. Just scouting out the competition as every player watches it. I'm sure the coaches were watching it too, but from a different perspective than us were watching it. So yeah, that rest versus rust discussion will be put into question real quick. I know Coach, I want to be media guy. Coach will have his team all prepared and ready, but we always see these kind of things. We always think that, and then sometimes crazy things happen early in the first quarter where you're like, whoa. I will say that if the Tiger Cats start slow, a lot of many of their 11 wins were a team were kind of like that second game against Montreal, where kind of even Steven for the opening 30 minutes of football, and then they just put their foot down in the second half and pulled away. I think with that home crowd that I talked about, I just don't anticipate Hamilton starting slowly. I mean, could I see Montreal scoring first? Yeah, for sure. But I think that will be quickly responded on by the Tiger Cats. So, again, this whole thing about the East Division, hosting team sort of hex. I don't know if I agree with it, but I mean, history has proven has put together some interesting final scores.
As Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Punch in the mouth, yes. Right? Absolutely, right? I mean, and how do you respond from these things? And that's for both teams, right? How are these teams going to respond? And you can bet, how are Montreal going to respond? This will be probably the most I'm trying to think, because I'm looking at the team that I don't think I think it would go back to his second or third start for Davis Alexander, where he had that crazy win in Regina. That one, remember that little toe tap against the sideline? And that was early in his starting career. This will probably be the most hostile sort of environment that he's faced since that game. So how will he respond, and how will that offense respond under his leadership in a place where I think, the volume's going to be loud, the crowd's going to be on them. Sometimes the Ticat fans can be not friendly with what's being said, right? Because where they sit, I mean, it's pretty close proximity to, not as close as the old Ivor Wynn, but I mean, those crowds can get really on those teams sometimes.
Can
Yeah, for
confirm.
sure.
Yeah, it's funny if you cheer for the opposing team. The Hamilton faithful will definitely let you know about it if your team starts to screw up.
Like, you're not going to hear that in Toronto. Ottawa sometimes. I know there's a little rivalry between Ottawa and Montreal, but there's nothing like it. Like, if you're in BC and the fans are there and the opposing teams are there, there's not ongoing arguments going on between the players and the fans like there is in Hamilton. And that's, and they're going to be that way. I can see it. Like, they're going to do anything they can to get Montreal, sort of, out of their game or out of what they're supposed to be focused on. It's part of home field advantage here in Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
My last thing for you, because I think I know what Cliff has to ask you before we let you go, Bubba. But I'm going to flip the script a little bit on you. We talk about the highs and lows of a team itself and how good they are in certain places. In your opinion, what is the Tiger Cats' weakest point?
It's a great question. Something that I think they need to work on. Absolutely. And that is consistency on offense. For as big as the numbers have been for Bo Levi Mitchell and that led offense by him, if they get into a rut, even in wins, we've seen ruts of 1, 2, sometimes as many as 3 or 4 possessions where they're 2 and out. And that's a problem, right? Because we don't know what that could change field position. That could give Montreal a short field. And we've seen some situations where they've been burned. Like, there was a game in Calgary where that was a major problem. I thought they went toe-to-toe against Calgary and for a proportion of the game. And then the offense went ice cold. I don't know if it was the play calling. Of course, it had a lot to do with the execution. There were some penalties mixed in there. And all of a sudden, Calgary found separation in the ball game. This is a home game as well, too. And the fans kind of got on the team there. There's some, mild booing going on because they know that the Tiger Cats offense can execute at a much higher level. And if trust me, if Montreal can take advantage of the situations when Hamilton's offense, if this does happen, get into sort of 2 and out mode, we got a problem.
Yeah. Hamilton, by the way, was at 28% on 2 and outs this past regular season. Montreal was right behind them in 4th at 30%.
Interesting. So it can harm both teams, right? And if teams are opportunistic on the field position, you could be down by 14 points real quick.
That's it. It can turn literally at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely. That's something to watch out for both teams. But consistency. But I still think, and I think this is no different for Montreal too. Ball control, time of possession, old school football. As diverse as both Jason Moss and Scott Milanovich are as offensive play callers, deep down that the basics of football are still with them, and especially in a playoff game because there is no tomorrow, and you'd much rather have the football in your hands than the other guy.
Without question. Wow, this has been absolutely incredible, Bubba. Before we let you go, if people don't have their tickets yet for this game, and if they don't, shame on them, Hamilton, because this is it. As you said, win or go home. What would you use to sell this game to anyone who, for whatever silly reason, may still be on the fence about whether or not they want to go and sit out in the potential cold or whatnot in order to cheer their Hamilton Tiger Cats on?
Blackout. Show up wearing black, please, because you'll feel silly. It'd be like going into Regina and not wearing green. You'll stand out, and people will look at you funny. So wear black. Be prepared to be loud. Be a real home crowd. And just get there and enjoy this. I mean, I know, hey, the TV's so good nowadays. But we all know it now, right? The TV's so good. All the replays, you're comfortable on your couch, you're having your own popcorn and a beverage. There's a lot of reasons to watch everything in sports nowadays, not just a CFL football game at home. But in a playoff situation, a team that's trying to snap a 50 what is it? I can't even remember. Haven't won a Grey Cup since 1999. An opportunity to go to a Grey Cup, home game, division rivalry. It's Montreal. Like come on, it's Montreal. You got to get there. Anything short of Toronto and an East Final at home, bring it in for Montreal, right? It just doesn't feel the same to me if it was Ottawa. It just doesn't. But it's Montreal, and they got a bravado. They've won a Grey Cup in our building, right? So just get out there. Like this is, and I don't think I need to poke and prod Ticat fans. I think this is going to be a sold out environment. And I think it's going to look real good on television for those who can't get there. But I think for those that are there, the environment's going to be a whole lot of fun.
It may not be the Labor Day Classic kind of vibes, but
I think it's going to. I think it's going to. Right? They've got the organization have gone all out. They got like I'm not a huge rock guy, but I know the Trews are playing. Like there's a halftime show. There's a band. There's bands playing earlier. The $5 beers will be flowing. Like they're going all out for this, right? And of course the blackout thing too. So they're doing a lot to attract the fans to get out to this game. Because playoff football, any CFL game is great. Like I said, this whole season, again, 65% of all games. You show me a sport where 65% of all games are coming down to the final 3 minutes. It's unmatched in any sport. It really is. And then you add playoff, winner go home, loser leave town. It's great.
From your lips to God's ears, my goodness.
Did I sell you?
I'm convinced. I'm going to the game now. I won't be wearing black. I'm going to let you know that right now.
I get it. I get it.
I hope you understand.
Don't tell me that. Tell the fans in there. I'll be cozy in the booth.
Must be nice.
Oh, gosh, guys.
All right,
it's been fun. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
All right. Where can everybody find you on social media? Drop your vitals. Let everybody be able to follow you.
I'm really old, so I know I have it, but find obviously, you can go online, CHCH, on CHCH Sports. We always do the coverage here, have for 70 years, been in the Hamilton community. I'm also on the Ticats audio network. I'm the pre-game, halftime, and post-game host, along with Matt Buckner and Simone Lawrence and Rick Zamperin on the call for the games too. So if we all want to either cry or celebrate together, you can catch us on the audio network, and they're easily streamed on all the places that you can stream us. Often this is the CHCH Sportsline podcast, which I host as well too, and we do a lot of Ticat talks as well too. So available where you find all your fine podcasts, and just go to the internet, or again, just turn on the TV on CHCH.
There you go. You heard the man. Bubba, thank you so much. This was an absolute blast. We appreciate you, and here's to a good, fun game this Saturday.
Absolutely. My best to the guys in TSN, with the TSN 600, who I think, I listened to all the broadcasts throughout the game. You guys put together a great broadcast, and it's great to see you guys doing what you do as well too. Anytime we can do more chatter about this great game, that sometimes we poke a little fun at, and we get a little upset with each other, and then decisions being made. But there's no finer game, I think, out there. We all love the NFL, but boy, the CFL is something special.
Loved having Bubba on. I said first time on the show, and we'll have him on again. It's always good to talk to fellow media members who know their teams so well, cover them so well, and it was just an absolute joy to be talking with Bubba and to get his insight on what's coming up in the East Final this Saturday.
Without question, just a great chat all around. Yeah, listen, if you folks aren't excited already about this upcoming Eastern Final, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, just listen to what Bubba said. If you're in Hamilton, you got to be at the game. You got to come. You got to show up. You got to show out for your squad. Montrealers, if you can, you got to make the trip down to Hamilton Stadium. You got to come support your team. But no matter what, you got to be a part of this game. And a lot of people I know are going to be. So I'm fully expecting a sold out crowd in Hamilton. It's going to be an electric atmosphere no matter what. And, we definitely appreciate Bubba coming on to give his insights on all things Hamilton Ticats. And as you said, Tim, this will not be the last time we have him on this show, because just an absolute delight to talk to.
Exactly. We are on social media. You can find us almost anywhere, including all those podcast aggregates that do look for our show. So just do a search for Alouettes Flight Deck. You can find us also on X or Blue Sky over at Alouettes FL Deck. As far as Facebook, over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, Instagram, and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck. Speaking of YouTube, make sure you do subscribe, hit the bell button, and change your notifications to let you know when we do go live or any new show does become available. Because when you do, you can see, well, maybe Flight Deck Live. It just happens to be popping up. It may have been our last show at Percival Molson Stadium for Flight Deck Live for 2025, but we still got a couple more to go for Flight Deck Live for the rest of the season, so stay tuned for those. Again, there you have the Flight Deck Live, you have the full broadcast version of the show, and you also have the audio version also there. Are you looking to check out all of our shows that we've ever done? Well, you can head over to www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. All close to 300 shows. Mind blown. We're getting close. This is 297, by the way, for those who are counting. Yeah, you can head there and check out all the interviews that we've ever done, all the shows we've ever done. It's a great historical look at everything we've done for the last 10 seasons, 9 years. Looking for merch? Won't be able to rep it this week at home or at the game itself. But if you go over to www.flightdeckgear.ca, order some merch. Part of the If You Know, You Know line, Cartoon Bird 56, LBM, The Big Mac, or any of our logo merch. It's all found there over at flightdeckgear.ca.
Tim, it's not too early to get your Christmas shopping started, or holiday shopping, I should say.
You are so right. By the way, speaking of Cartoon Bird 56, have to at least mention it. Drop 2.0 is now available. If you are interested in getting the pins with our collab with the guys over at Pinforce, DM us on socials if you are interested. Again, it is a limited run. These are slightly different, so you can say that even if you had two of the first set, the second set is slightly different. So again, DM us. Same thing as before, $10 per pin, and all the proceeds do go to CFL fans fight cancer.
God willing, we'll be able to make another great donation. We've already made one big donation to CFL Fans Fight Cancer Initiative, but we are still hoping and praying with your help by buying up all these pins that we can, at the day of the CFL Fans Fight Cancer event in Winnipeg, to be able to hand over another generous donation to them. So, yeah. As Tim said, hit us up in the DMs. If you see us at the Eastern Final, we'll have pins there as well. Make sure you bring your cash. Do whatever it takes. Buy up all these pins. We're gonna hopefully have some to bring with us to Grey Cup as well. So you may be able to buy them there as well. But folks, do not miss out on this.
Yep. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Royal Retros. If you go to royalretros.com and use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. And with our collaborating partner at Pinforce, go to pinforce.io, especially if you love comic book stuff. They got a lot of cool stuff. Comic book stuff, Arena Football League stuff. Just go check them out over at pinforce.io and use the code FlightDeck at checkout, and you will save 15% on your entire order. And that code, by the way, is good through December 31st, 2025. Okay. Before we get into the main talk of we talked with Bubba quite a bit on what's coming up at the show. We at least want to give our thoughts on the final itself, the East Final. There seem to be a lot of fans recently really getting up in arms on how DA, Davis Alexander, has commented or has sort of come across by his comments, or how they that was given at the post-game press conference. And I don't think it really goes to his comments that were for the first day of practice, because I think that he's moved on. So I think everything was taken from those. It just seems that not only has Winnipeg fans really just gotten up in arms or butthurt about what he has said or taken things what they feel out of context, because I'm not going to say how the comments have been put out there on social media have been cherry picked, because they have not. They haven't been cherry picked. It's exactly what he said. It's just not all at once. Or if you haven't watched the press game, the post game press conference, you haven't read the stuff that has been written, you haven't watched it, whatever, you may take it in such a way. But I don't understand this, Cliff. We have seen some cocky athletes in sports across every single type of sport. And sometimes they come off and they rub you the wrong way. For some reason, Davis Alexander, just in what he's commented about the game from Winnipeg, has really rubbed a lot of Winnipeggers and some others across the country the wrong way just from what he's said. He's cocky. He's arrogant. I guess I can't say it's all in good fun, because I've seen some comments where they wish him to get hurt. I mean, come on. I mean, your anonymity behind a name on social media, you know what I mean? You think you're being a bully? No, you're just garbage. You're garbage when you do that type of stuff. You know what I mean? It's basically, you want to run your mouth? Shut it. It's just very simple. I don't understand what these people saw with the comments that Davis said. One of the ones that think that a lot of them are really, the comment, oh, well, he gave himself a B-. I know the comment said that was the practice from Tuesday. Commented on that one. They commented, oh, that the Owls could have scored 60 points. We should have put 60 points up. They could have. It was 17-0. It was 17-0. You take away those blips from what happened in the second, they easily could have put 60 up. You want to come at me? Go ahead, DM me. I don't care. The Alouettes could have put up 60. They didn't. It was a good game. But I just don't get it. He does not. We know Davis. Some people say we're biased. This guy has from day one. We know how he's such a competitor. Even when he's hurt, sure he trash talks. Even when he was hurt. Okay, it's part of sports. You can't tell me that you don't see that in basketball, football, etc. NFL, God, especially the NFL. Davis has been one of the most humble persons I know. For a guy who is QB1 for a pro football franchise. He's come up through the ranks. He's done what he's needed to do in order to be QB1. He's learned under the best people that he could to get where he's at. Just because he says something that you don't like, he comes off as arrogant. He's not arrogant. He's confident. He's not cocky. He's good at what he does. I mean, I understand it may have been the heat of the matter because they were, Winnipeg lost and you saw the comments afterwards. But again, I go back to think, wish him to get hurt. Screw you. It makes no sense. That's not what sport's about. I understand that the Bomber fans are very passionate. I get that. We all are in the CFL. But Davis's comments may have come off in a way I said he's as confident. Sure, was it cocky? No. Arrogant? No. The thing is, he won. You saw what he did. If you think your team could be if that's not the case, then your team should have done better. You know what I mean? And one of the funniest comments Cliff that came across that said, he goes, "Mark my words that that he will never beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers again in his career." Bookmarked. That's bookmarked for sure.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me at any point none of your players did the exact same thing. If that's the case, if you think he's arrogant, some of these guys came off. And I know you and I were talking about this before the show.
Yeah. Wasn't it back in, was it 2010, 2011 that Winnipeg, when they were, starting to catch fire and, work towards winning that Grey Cup. Let's not forget too that this also during the time when they were in their Grey Cup drought, they were starting to feel themselves just a little bit, and to the point where they called themselves Swaggerville. They came about, acting like they were, the cat's pajamas, and they had that swagger about them, hence the name. And it's funny, nobody ever thought they were cocky or arrogant or anything like that. Like, I'm sure, these Bomber fans didn't think that their players were cocky and arrogant for acting the way they were. But yet, when someone comes and does it to them, then all of a sudden they're up in arms. They're, as you said, butthurt. They're in their feelings about, how dare you say that? All of a sudden there's all kinds of pearl clutching in Winnipeg. Like, are you serious? Like, really? You're gonna let another player live in your head rent free like that? He won. He just did what he said he was gonna do. And you didn't like that, did you? It makes me laugh because there's an old saying, have the day that you voted for. Winnipeg wanted Montreal. Bomber fans they thought this was the path of least resistance, don't forget. This is going to be a cakewalk. We're going to go to Montreal. They're not going to be able to do this. Davis is not going to be able to handle it. And then we're going to go to Hamilton, where we embarrass them throughout the season. This is going to be a cake. We're going to be playing in our stadium, even though not in the right dressing room. We're going to be playing in our stadium for the Grey Cup. You wait and see. Well, Davis Alexander had a different thought on that, didn't he? You didn't like that. You didn't like the fact that he was able to play the bully ball. Like, all of the Alouettes were able to play bully ball with you. You just got a taste of your own medicine, and I guarantee you didn't like it. You made it very clear on social media. You did not like getting embarrassed by number 10 for the Montreal Alouettes. He took your swagger and kept it for himself, and he threw it in your face. And I guarantee you ain't loving any of that, are you? And so what do? You start boo-hooing on the internet. Talking about how he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's a jerk. I want to, blah, 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 blah. You know what? You're not Swaggerville anymore, Winnipeg. I'm sorry to say, you had a great run. I give you all the credit in the world. Going to 5 Grey Cups is hella hard.
Yeah.
You won 2 of them. You lost 3 of them, but you still made it to the game. You could have possibly made it again this year, but you ran into this incredible buzzsaw called Davis Alexander, and now you're all up in your feelings. Now you're sad because now you went and you bought tickets for the Grey Cup, and now you're gonna have to watch possibly Davis Alexander come in there and maybe win a Grey Cup in your stadium, and I bet that hurts like hell. Good. I hope it does, because right now y'all are coming across as, if I may get into the wrestling promo part here, there's only one word for you, Winnipeg, that describes you, and I'm going to spell it out for you. SAWFT. Soft.
Got any comments? Please DM us. We want to know what you think.
Our socials are down there. We're not hard to find.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
And hey, you know what I will say, though? Like I said, much respect to Winnipeg, the organization. They got some really great people there. Again, I thought this was going to be a lot more of a match, and it ended up being a pretty good game when it was all said and done. I give them a lot of credit. They had a hell of a run, but all good things must come to an end, folks. And am I sorry that I came as a result because of the Montreal Alouettes? Not really, but that's sports. I mean, if you don't like it, play better. That's really what it comes down to. Now, Winnipeg's going to have to make some serious decisions about their off season. Whether Zach Caleros, Brady Oliveira is a pending free agent. There's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered in Winnipeg, and I think that's probably what hurts Winnipeg fans more than anything else is the fact that now there's another great example. I mean, we could be looking at a completely different Bombers team. We talk about this being the end of an era with the playoff run coming to an end for Winnipeg. that may not be the only thing that comes to that. It may not be the only end of an era in Winnipeg. I mean, we'll see what the offseason brings, but yeah, I mean, hate it or love it, but that's what's going on right now with Winnipeg. So, again, I still have to say though, this is what you asked for. You wanted to come the path of least resistance. Have the day you voted for.
There you go. Alouettes come into this game, Cliff, as to me, I don't know. It surprised me at first when I saw it. They're a 2.5-point favorite going into Winnipeg. They're going into Hamilton.
They're the hot hand right now. I mean,
and what's funny,
look what they did to the 5-time Western Final or Western Division champions.
Yeah, defending Western Division champions. Yeah, no, I know. Obviously history is not on their side. I mean, in Hamilton, they've played Hamilton before in the East Final. I mean, they haven't beaten Hamilton in the East Final since 1970. But as Coach Moss would say, the past is the past, and you got to play today's game today.
Very true.
We've seen so far with practice, we've seen this week with the injury report, it seems like everybody that can play is going to play. We'll find out specifically about Seontae Evans, even though I will admit it would have been nice to have him last week, but he wasn't needed. Same thing with Mustafa Johnson. We'll see what's happening because I know he is limited.
And he's needed, but at the same time, he is a part of that defensive line, which, as I said, played absolutely phenomenal. One thing I do want to point out really quick, though, is how incredible was it that Sean Oakman's replacement in the game this past Saturday, Corey Robinson Jr., actually caused Brady Oliveira to fumble the ball at one point. So, I mean, any questions that anyone had about whether or not the Alouettes were going to miss Sean Oakman in the lineup? There's your answer. And let's not forget, you still have Isaac Adeyemi Berglund. You got Dylan Wynn. You got Lawal Ugalak. You got Sean Lemon, who was reactivated, and he did a fine job. There was no problem there. He knows what it's like to play a very important playoff game in Montreal. Did it 2 years ago. Did it again this year. So, would have been nice to have Moose in the lineup. 100%. That would have been amazing. Sure. But you know what? I'm all for saving him for games where it truly, truly counts, i.e. the Grey Cup. I mean, we saw what he did when he made it to the Grey Cup game. So I'm all for doing whatever it takes to make sure that Mustafa Johnson is healthy and ready to go when it truly counts. I'm all for that. Yeah,
I agree with you. And again, we touched on a lot with Bubba. It really, there is, the Owls need to control. They need to do what they've been doing. I mean, this is a team, as I mentioned on Flightdeck Live, who had almost 70% on converted almost 70% of their second downs. 70%, and held to their, held Winnipeg to 20. I mean, if they're able to do that, less what happened in the third quarter, this is going to be a good game, and it's it's going to be hostile. It really is going to be hostile. We've had it before. We've had it before by going to Saskatchewan. We beat Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan. This isn't this is Davis's first start ever versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
No, it's not.
This year. Sorry, since he's been back this year.
This year, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, but it's. I think the game's gonna be good. Nonetheless, I think this is gonna be a good game.
Yeah, as we discussed with Bubba, I think this has the makings of an all-time classic. I really do. I mean, I think both teams are evenly matched. I think each team has their strengths and weaknesses compared to the other. I mean, you can break it down all you want to, but truly, I really think this is as evenly matched as you can expect. And I think Hamilton is going to want it bad enough for so many reasons. Most notably, playing for their departed GM, the late great Ted Gavea. They're going to want to play for him. They're going to want to get him that Grey Cup ring that unfortunately he never got a chance to enjoy. Not to mention, too, the Hamilton Tiger Cats haven't won a Grey Cup since 1999. They haven't won a Grey Cup in this millennium. I mean, that's kind of wild when you think about it. But that's unfortunately the reality. And you know that there was pressure 2 years ago to get to the Grey Cup and win it all. That's why you blow your brains out and get a Bo Levi Mitchell. And he's had himself a hell of a year this year. He's stayed healthy. I think he played all 18 games, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah, I think so.
Has put up some ridiculous numbers. I mean, like we talk about, he is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer without question. But he has been playing absolutely phenomenal football this year. You got Kenny Lawler, Keandre Smith, Tim White, Greg Bell. I mean, there are so many offensive weapons on this team that will put points on the board. But Montreal, too, is not lacking in offensive power either. Defensive wise, I mean, both these teams are tremendous as well. It's going to be a little tough, though, to see Reggie Stubblefield, who, again, was a very, very big part of that 2023 Grey Cup run and win. The idea that he's going to be playing in Hamilton Stadium again with Montreal Alouettes, not with the Alouettes, but like with the Alouettes being in the building as well, but he's going to be on the opposing team. That's going to be tough. And I'm sure the emotions and it's going to be running high for everybody, especially for Reggie going up against guys that he still loves. Like he still feels very connected to a lot of these players on the Alouettes, and Alouettes Nation still, has a soft spot for him. But this time around, we can't wish him all the best. I mean, obviously we do wish him the best, but at the same time, the Alouettes are trying to get to the Grey Cup and win their 9th Grey Cup. And unfortunately, Reggie Stubblefield is kind of standing in the way. So you got to do what you got to do. And there are so many storylines here. There's so many interesting aspects for this game. And, Montreal is going to come in here. And right now they're feeling themselves. Right now they're riding the momentum wave. Like they are the hot hand right now. And we talked about like catching fire at the right time. And that's what this Montreal Alouettes team has done. They've gotten past the injury woes. They've gotten past all the problems they had earlier this year when they went through that little slide. And now they're going to do everything they can to get to Winnipeg and win the Grey Cup. But standing in the way is the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who, again, are no slouches. Offensively, defensively, special teams, they are just as good as the Alouettes, as far as I'm concerned. Like this is truly 1A, 1B when it comes to the Eastern Division, how these two teams rank up. And truthfully, the only reason why the Alouettes aren't hosting the Eastern Final is because, unfortunately, Davis Alexander wasn't available for either of the 2 games against Hamilton. And Hamilton took advantage of that. Hey, fair play to them. They did the right thing. They were smart. They won those games. They got to host the Eastern Final. Yeah. But I think Montreal is going to use that as motivation as well. Davis Alexander is going to use that as motivation. Yes, he's already won a game at Hamilton Stadium, but this is arguably now the biggest game of his career. And he's not going to want to turn in a disappointing performance. He knows that a nation, Alouettes Nation, is behind him. He knows an entire province is behind him, the province of Quebec. He knows how important this is for everybody involved with the Montreal Alouettes. And you damn well know he's not going to do anything to let them down. He's going to do everything he can to get the dub and take this Alouettes team to Winnipeg and compete for the Grey Cup.
Yep, for sure. For sure. I'm gonna end the show on something I thought was really cool. I don't know if you saw it. I love their post game videos that the Alouettes put out. One of the coolest things, Cliff, is seeing the same pilots from 425 who flew over in the flyover before the beginning of the game on Saturday. They were in the locker room, both of them. It was so cool just to see them, see the 425 patch on their flight suits.
I thought it was really cool.
So cool.
Yes. And it's funny because that's exactly what Jason Moss talks about in every one of his speeches to the team. Is talk about you're not just playing for yourselves, you're playing for the city of Montreal, the province of Quebec, the 425. Like that is something that he is ingrained into these guys. And to actually have those fighter pilots that just flew over the stadium a couple hours ago in the same locker room with those Alouettes. And as I said, you point to the patches, you show like, yeah, they're the real deal. They are legit. They are very much a part of the 425, just like this Alouettes team. consider themselves a part of the 425 in the sense that they're representing for them. They're representing for Quebec, for Montreal, for Alouettes Nation. And yeah, they were not going to be denied. It really it made for an amazing. I mean, most of Jason Moss's post-game speeches, while profanity laced, are pretty amazing. So this was just one in a series, but yeah, just absolutely phenomenal. I thought it was really well done by the Alouettes, really well done by Jason Moss to bring them in and let the guys show them the love as well.
Exactly. And speaking of Alouettes Nation, there is going to be a fan bus. First time, I can't remember the last time there was a fan bus during the playoffs. We don't know how many are going to be there. We know what section they're going to be sitting in. They will be behind the Alouettes bench. So if you're watching on TV, you will see, red, white, and blue behind the bench. They won't be in black because they're doing the black out there. Your boys and executive producer will be there in Hamilton also. Logistics right now, there will be a Flight Deck live. We just don't know the logistics yet. But we can say that there will be. So something will be going up on to let you guys know that it is going to be happening on YouTube and our other socials. Stay tuned. Be patient with us. We are going to have a Flight Deck live. We just don't know the logistics yet, but stay tuned to all of our socials for when we do hope to go live, win or lose, from Hamilton on Saturday evening.
Well, again, this is why we talk about you've got to subscribe. You got to be following. You got to hit the notification bell or whatever notification thing you got to hit so that you will get notified when we go live. So if you haven't done it, do it now. Like, it doesn't cost anything, I promise you, and you'll be ready. Like, well, when we go live, you will be notified. So whether it's on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on X, however, make sure you do that. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following us and come along because we're going to Hamilton. And God willing, we walk out of there with the dub and head to Grey Cup to go for the ninth title in this organization's history. And I'm excited. I am excited, especially after such a phenomenal game this past Saturday. Like, how do you top that? Like what do you do what do you do for an? I'm excited to see what the Alouettes do for an encore against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It is going to be a lot of fun.
Exactly. So we will see you on Flight Deck Live, or we will see you on the show next week. But we appreciate every time you do join us. We really, really do. So for the last time here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.